everyone. Father Matt here with today's Gospel reflection for Sunday, April 5th, Palm Sunday of the Passion of the Lord. And for today's reflection, I want to do something a little bit different. Very often in the liturgy for Palm Sunday, when all of us are present, there's an option for a procession. And before the procession with the palms, there's usually a shorter gospel reading as opposed to the longer passion narrative that we hear in the normal place of the gospel for Sunday Mass. And unfortunately, for most of us, we will certainly not be taking part physically in processions with palms this year. But in many live stream masses, it wouldn't seem that that would be the option exercised. So I would actually like to read to you and reflect on the gospel passage that we would have heard had this option been exercised and if we were all together. So we'll read along from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. When Jesus and the disciples drew near Jerusalem and came to Bethphage on the Mount of Olives, Jesus sent two disciples, saying to them, "Go into the village opposite you, and immediately you will find an ass tethered and a colt with her. Untie them and bring them here to me. And if anyone should say anything to you, reply, 'The Master has need of them.' Then he will send them at once." This happened so that what had been spoken through the prophet might be fulfilled. "Say to daughter Zion, behold, your king comes to you, meek and riding on an ass and on a colt, the foal of a beast of burden." The disciples went and did as Jesus had ordered them. They brought the ass and the colt and laid their cloaks over them, and he sat upon them. The very large crowd spread their cloaks on the road, while others cut branches from the trees and strewed them on the road. The crowds preceding him and those following kept crying out and saying, "Hosanna to the Son of David! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord! Hosanna in the highest!" And when he entered Jerusalem, the whole city was shaken and asked, "Who is this?" And the crowds replied, "This is Jesus the prophet from Nazareth in Galilee." The Gospel of the Lord. Well, in today's gospel, we hear of Jesus sending two disciples to get an ass and a colt for this procession into Jerusalem. And I think that this is emblematic of the ease and straightforwardness with which the Lord invites so many different persons into his service, the Lord invites so many people into his company as his disciples to share in his mission. And so we see the same done today with these two animals. I imagine that in our own lives, we can reflect on different ways, perhaps surprising and unexpected ways, in which the Lord has invited us to come to know him more deeply, ways in which the Lord has invited us to serve him in ways that we might never have expected. And even with everything else going on in the world today, with all of the distance, all of the uncertainty, all of the confusion, the Lord continues to do this for each and every one of us. He continues to break into our hearts. He continues to invite us into his service, more deeply into his company. And so, as we reflect with gratitude on the ways in which the Lord has done that in the past, perhaps we might be especially prayerfully attentive as we begin this Holy Week as to how the Lord is doing that here and now. What is he inviting us to do? Who is the Lord inviting us to be? And to respond to him with courage, with generosity, and with a joyful yes, knowing that while our yes to the Lord might come with its own twists and turns, even with its own suffering, that yes, given faithfully and fully to the Lord, will yield inexpressible joy.